Hello students, welcome to all of you Shikshak 360. Today we have to cover the chapter number 2, part 2, that is Introduction to Computing. Okay. So now let's move further regarding Introduction to Computing. So under that, first of all, we have to discuss regarding the data processing and methods. Okay, what are the different methods under that and what is the meaning of the data processing? And I request to all of you kindly go through all these points very carefully. Yesterday we have covered some questions on the basis of that. So similar type of question you will get in the examination also. Okay. And I will discuss some of the few memory based questions with all of you. So the words data and information, we have already discussed that is both are different words. Clear, the word data and information are often used interchangeably. But strictly speaking, there is a difference between the two terms. Data can be thought as of a raw and individually meaningless facts in a context way. Example, the individual alphabets on this page can be thought as of a data. Like we can say that, like we can say, write it as Raman, eat, food. Okay, so if we are making it in a sentence, so that it will be a meaningful thing. That it is to be considered as the information. Example, the individual alphabets on this page can be thought as of a data. Taken individually, they do not signify anything. Clear, taken individually, they do not signify anything. But when they are grouped together, clear, taken individually, they do not signify anything. But when they are grouped together, they convey something to those. Okay, they convey something to those who understand the English. In the same manner, information conveys some meaning based on the raw facts or the data. Okay, information conveys some meaning based on the raw facts or data. So data processing, it is a specialist activity performed generally by the administrative organization for the business. So what is data processing? It is a specialist activity performed generally by the administrative organization for the business, and it is concerned with the systematic recording. Clear, data processing, and it is concerned with the systematic recording, arranging, filing, processing, and dissemination of the facts relating to the physical events occurring in the business. Okay. So what is the data processing? Kindly remember this definition. It is a specialist activity performed by the administrative organization for the business, and it is concerned. Basically, it is concerned with the systematic recording. Clear? First of all, we have to record that, then arranging, filing, processing, and dissemination, that is providing of the facts relating to the physical events occurring in the business. So I will repeat that words again. Systematic recording, arranging, filing, processing, and dissemination of the facts relating to the physical events occurring in the business. So the results of business operations for the specific operation periods are summarized and presented to the management in the form of operating reports, profit and loss statements, balance sheet, etc. Okay. The results of business operations for specific operation periods are summarized and presented to the management in the form of the operating reports, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, etc. So now next one, we have to cover what are the applications of the data processing. So first one, that is the commercial application. So commercial data processing involves a large volume of commercial data processing. What it involves a large volume of the input data, relatively few computational operations, and a large volume of the output. Okay. So commercial data processing involves a large volume of the input data, relatively few computational operations, and a large number of the output. For example, an insurance company needs to keep records of tens or hundreds or thousands of policies. Okay. In the case of the commercial, that is, they have a large volume of the data and a relatively few computational operations. Clear, very few and large volume of the output. Like example here, in the case of the commercial data analysis, or sorry, data processing. So that like an insurance company needs to keep records of tens or thousands of hundreds or thousands of policies, print and mail the bills, and receive and post payments. Okay, so all these things, it will come under the commercial. The next one, that is data analysis. What is the meaning of that? So in a science or engineering field, The term data processing in a science or engineering field, the term data processing and information system are considered too broad. And the more specialized term data analysis it is typically used. Okay. So in a science or engineering field, the term data processing and information system are considered too broad. And the more specialized term data analysis it is to be typically used here. What is the meaning? That data analysis makes use of specialized and highly accurate algorithms and statistical calculations that are often observed in the typical journal business environment. Okay. So what are the data analysis? Data analysis makes use of specialized and highly accurate algorithms and statistical calculations that are often observed in the typically journal business type environment. Okay. So there is a lot of difference between the commercial and the data analysis, commercial data processing and data analysis. Clear? Data from the word also that is analysis. So we have to do lot of calculations there, processing there. Clear? So this is the main difference between both of the points regarding the data analysis and the commercial data processing. Now we have to move to the next point. So it is impossible to think of any field. Clear, it is impossible to think of any field which is untouched by the data processing or its use. Let it be the agriculture, manufacturing, or service industry, or meteorological department, urban planning, transport system, banking, and educational institutions. So data processing it is required at all places with varied level of complexities. Clear? So data processing it is required at all places with varied level of complexity. So a data processing system in its simplest form consists of the three basic steps. Where sometimes they will ask in the examination, what are the three basic steps in the data processing system? It's the first one that is the input, second one that is what we have provided the input, that is the process that input, third one it is the output. Okay? That is it in the data processing system. So this applies to all the system, whether they are to be manual or electronic. In computerized system, there is one thing that is in computerized system, data processing applications hold data in the two types of file. Clear? Two types of file, very, very important. So data processing applications basically hold two type of the data. One, it is a permanent and one that is the temporary. So permanent, that file it is to be known as a master file and the temporary file it is to be known as a transaction file. Okay. So in computerized data processing, applications hold data in the two types of files that it is to be generally known as the master file and the transaction file. Clear that it is to be generally known as the master file and the transaction file. So what is a master file here? It is customary to set up a master file of permanent and the latest data. Clear? Master file basically it is a what of permanent or the latest. That example, the master payroll file in roles or basically normally contains permanent details of the employee such as his name, address, income tax code, gross salary to date, total tax paid to date, etc. Clear? All these things will be covered under the permanent details of the employee. On the other side, transaction file, it is temporary in nature. Clear? That is how much hours that person is specified working. Okay, so example in payroll system, it will contain the hours that an employee has worked in a month. Clear? That is, it is a temporary. So transaction, from the word transaction, that is temporary. From the word master, that is permanent. Okay, so example in payroll system, it will contain the hours that employees have worked in a month, his time, overtime hours, etc. So both these files are processed together to generate the output. Clear? So both these files are processed together to generate the output like payslip, income tax statement, etc. So the master file, it is updated with the latest tax paid figure and the gross salary to date figure. So this is the how the file will be kept ready for the month. Clear? So that it is to be in the data processing. We have to know that application will be in the or hold in the two types of the files. First one that is a master file, second one that is a transaction file. Master file, it is the permanent data type file, and transaction file, it is, we can say that like the temporary file. Clear? Transaction file will be considered as the temporary file to be here. So the various methods of data processing are classified based on how application process transactions. Okay, so there are different methods, and that is it is to be totally based on how the applications process the transaction. The following text discusses some of the widely used methods of the data processing. Now let's move forward. First one, that is the batch processing. Clear batch processing. Batch processing, I think all of you are very well aware regarding the clearing batch. Clearing batch basically means that clearing of the checks. Okay, so how it will be done? So batch processing, it is a technique. Clear? So what is that? Batch processing, it is a technique in which a number of similar transactions to be processed are grouped together. Clear? So what is a batch processing? Batch processing, it is a technique in which number of similar transactions. Clear? Batch processing, it is a technique in which a number of similar transactions to be processed are grouped together and then processed sequentially at once without any interruption. Clear? So what is a batch processing? Batch processing, it is a technique in which a number of similar transactions are to be processed are grouped together. So that is which are similar type of the transactions to be processed are grouped together and then processed sequentially at once without any interruption. That is all the transaction to be done in the batch. So many of the older financial systems have extensively used batch processing. Particularly accounting system in some of the banks have used this method of processing. What are the main reasons behind this? First one, this method utilizes technology resources. Clear? This method uses technology resources very effectively, especially where large number of the transaction have to be involved. Clear? So batch processing, it is basically used at that places where large number of transaction are to be placed here. Clear? Or we have to perform the large number of transaction in a single instance. So many financial routines such as the interest calculations, charge calculation, etc., takes place outside the business hours. So it is not appropriate to have online processing, which gives immediate results at the high cost. Okay. What is the meaning of like outside the business or basically in the evening or at the day end? Clear? All these things are to be going on. So that is the same thing they are saying. So many financial routines such as the interest calculation, charge calculation, etc., that takes place outside the business hours. So it is not appropriate to have online processing, which gives immediate results at the high cost. Clear? Which gives immediate results at the high cost. Now move to the next point. How the batch system works. Clear? So how this system works. So the batch system works in the following steps. First one, forms or documents which need processing are collected during the day. Clear? Forms or documents which need processing are collected during the day. So these documents are sorted or arranged by type. Each separate type will form a separate batch. Clear? Each separate type will form a separate batch. If a specific type contains the large number of documents, so it will be split into more than one batch. Okay. So forms or documents which need processing are collected during the day. These documents are sorted or arranged by type. Each separate type will form a separate batch. Each separate type will form a separate batch. If a specific type contains the large number of documents, clear? If the specific type contains a large number of documents, so it will be split into more than one batch. Clear? So that it will be split into more than one batch. Each batch will be given some header consisting of a batch number, batch type, and the number of documents it consists of. The batch will be entered into the computer. The batch entry system will check for the batch header information, that is batch number, type, etc. So the items in the batch will be written to a transaction file. Because when it will be written into the transaction file, they can be processed further. Okay. So the batch will be entered into the computer. The batch entry system will check for a batch header information, that is batch number and type, etc. So the item in the batch will be written to a transaction file. Next one. This transaction file will update a master file in the following ways. The transaction file will be sorted in the same order as the master file. each transaction item will be matched. Here, each transaction item will be matched against the master item. Where items are matching in the corresponding master item will be changed accordingly. Clear when they will match. Clear that it will be changed accordingly and the processed. A new copy of the master file will be changed in which the above changes will be reflected. And if there are an errors, reports are generated, if any. Okay. So we have to check that also. Clear if there is errors reported. Just what they're trying to say that basically batch processing system, we have to check out or consider the documents during the daytime and the evening. All these things will be processed. Clear, and in the evening, all the things will be processed. So this way of processing data is very efficient, where a high proportion of records are going to be updated by the transaction file. Similarly, they are saying that in the bank's batch system, it is typically seen in the clearing system of checks also. Clearing system, it is also same. We have to catch up the image of the checks and then process in the system. And later on, all the checks are to be processed at centrally, whether it is to be cleared or not clear. All that process it is to be going at the centrally. Now discuss further regarding that. Batch system for the check clearing in the banks. Clear? Batch system for the check clearing in the banks. So there are pre-printed checks, including the code, account number, and check number, using magnetic ink. When the check is put forth for the payment, the amount is added by the paying branch. Clear? So when the check is put forth for the payment, the amount is added by the paying branch. So such checks are sent to the bank's clearing department or to a special clearing process, special check processing centers. Clear? So some checks are sent to the bank's clearing department or to a special check processing center. The above information written by the magnetic is read by the computer and checks are sorted in the order of the above code. Clear? Some checks are sent to the bank's clearing department or to a special check processing center. Further, that is the above information written by the magnetic ink is read by the computer and checks are sorted in the order of the above code. Okay. As per the code or as per the processor. For this micro reader sorted are to be used. Clear? So in the check processing system, what is the micro code are to be used? So the checks are then split according to each settlement bank. From where they will check out, that is from the micro code. They will check out. Clear? Basically, the check belongs to which bank. Okay, so the checks are then split according to each settlement bank and the report is produced for each settlement bank showing the amount of the checks collected. Clear? Each settlement bank showing the amounts of the checks collected. So the details of these are exchanged along with the checks. Clear? The details of these are to be exchanged along with the checks. After this, the difference between the amount collected and the amount due is settled through their accounts at the central bank of the country. Okay. So basically all the settlement, like what is the meaning of that? Like we have UCO bank check. Only I will take two example, PNB. So UCO bank has to give PNB that is 14 lakh with respect to the checks and PNB to UCO bank gives 20 lakh. So in the end, what is the difference between both? That is 6 lakhs. So that is 6 lakh extra PNB has to give to the UCO. Clear? So only 6 lakh they will transfer. The rest will be settled. Clear? Rest will be settled among both. So please tell fast any doubt, any query regarding this point. Hope it is clear to all of these regarding how the batch system for check clearing it is to be working in the banks. As per the definition they have explained here. Okay, so if anyone has any doubt, any query, so you can ask your doubts according to that. We will discuss all your doubts in detail. Now we have to be move further. So for all the gap elective IT classes, you can join our batch also. So continuously sessions will be provided along with that. Now move to the next point. So this is the system for splitting up of the checks into batch. Micro reader or sorted code can also be used here. Clear? So you can go through that, like this is the master file, transaction file. Clear? Match and merge the files here. If the everything it is to perfect, so the master file it is to be updated. And if there are errors, so input and error puts to be here. Okay. So this is the way under the batch processing. So next one, that is the online processing. Clear? Online processing. The batch processing, it is advantages and economically. When the large volume of data it is to be processed. Clear? So when the batch processing it is to be advantages and economically, when there is a large volume of data it is processed. However, it is not suitable. Clear? Online processing, that is our batch processing, how it is not suitable for small value of the data and further reduces timeliness in some cases where immediate response is needed from the system. Okay. However, it is not suitable for small volume of the data and further reduces timeliness in some cases where immediate response is needed from the system. So online processing here, that is online processing here, was developed to overcome the difficulties. Clear? Online processing was developed to overcome the difficulties faced in the batch processing. In some systems, it is necessary that transaction should immediately update the master file. Example, in the railway reservation, when the reservation book sticks for the customer, immediately it should affect the availability number of seats for a particular train on that. So such system that are known to be the online transaction processing system. Clear? That is OLTP. Clear? OLTP system, that is online transaction processing system. Okay, so kindly remember this point also, that is online transaction processing system to be here. Any question, any query regarding that, you can ask it. Now we have to move that how the OLTP system works. Clear? So I think you are now able to understand how the OLTP system basically works. That is, it is to be considered as a transaction basically, or the updation it is to be done at the same time. Okay, updation it is to be done at the same time, that is to be considered here. So in contrast to the batch processing, in online processing transaction, data is directly fed in the secondary storage devices under the CPU control without being sorted. Clear? So in contrast to the batch processing, in online processing, transaction data is directly fed in the secondary storage devices. Clear? Transaction data, it is directly fed in the secondary storage devices under the CPU control without being sorted. Clear? There is not any sorting of the data. Each item entered will have a transaction code here. The validation of this item will take place before it gets sorted on the secondary storage device. Okay. So how the OLTP system works, that is, in contrast to the batch processing, in online processing, transaction data it is directly fed in the secondary storage devices under the CPU control without being sorted. Each item entered here basically will have a transaction code. The validation of this item, clear, the validation of this item will take place before it gets sorted. Clear, the validation of this item will take place before it gets stored on the secondary storage device. Clear, before it gets stored on the secondary storage device. Before it gets stored on a secondary storage device. So the program, how it will be works is the program then processes the validated data and updates the master code accordingly. Clear? So this part you have to remember that basically in this transaction in the OLTP system, that is online transaction processing system, each item entered will have a transaction. Online station, transaction point, inquiry point, system response. So here transaction input, that is central processing, direct access, on online storage devices, then it is to back here. Basically inquiry input also, then it will be in the end, that is the system response. Clear? That is the system response. Now here will be try to understand that is in the online processing requires unique hardware and software features. For example, the capacity of the primary storage unit must be adequate to handle the complex control program. Also, since user may have a direct access to the stored records, clear? Also may have a user, basically also user have a direct access to the stored records, software security provisions are necessary. Yes, further that is software security provisions are necessary in order to prevent deliberate or accidental tampering with the data and program files. Clear? Also, since a user may have a direct access, clear, may have a direct access to the stored records, software security provisions are necessary. Clear here? Further, that is software security provisions are necessary in order to prevent deliberate or accidental tampering with the data and the program files. Clear? That is proper. We have to secure it. Clear? That is our data will reach at the accurate place, not at any other place, in order to prevent deliberate or accidental tampering with the data and program files. So some of the important features on the online processing system are to be given below. First one, that is the record lock. So in the online processing, it may be possible that two people are trying to update the same record at the same time. So to avoid this type of thing, the provision of record locking it is to be provided here. Okay, so that is in an online processing, it may be possible that two people are trying to update the same record at the same time. So to avoid this type of issue, the provision of record locking is provided. Here the provision of record locking it is provided. So in this, the record under use is logged so that no one, clear, the record under use it is to be logged so that no one can else update it at the same time. As soon as the first user finishes his work, the record is unlocked or freed from others in the queue. Okay, like we have to update anything in the system. So then it will also depends upon the same thing, clear, whether it is to be logged by some person or not. Okay, so that thing you have to be checked here. You have to put check on all these things. As soon as the first user finishes his work, the record is unlocked or freed for the others in the queue. So next one, that is the checkpoint and logging. Clear? Checkpoint and logging. First one, that is the record locking. Second one, that is the checkpoint and logging. So if the online system fails, clear, if the online system fails, how do we know that which transactions are applied and which are not? Clear? If the online system fails, so how do we know that which transactions are applied and which are not? So checkpointing keeps track of all the master file, both before and after update. Clear? So if the online system fails, so how we do know that which transaction are applied here and which are not? So at that place, check appointing keeps track of the master file, both before and after update. Using this, user can either restore the master to its original position before update or can reapply updates to an earlier copy. That is in the checkpoint and logic. I will repeat one. So if all the online system fails, how do we know that which transactions are applied and which are not? Clear? We have processed, some are failed, some are not. So checkpoint keeps track of the master file both before and after the update. Using this, user can either restore the master to its original position before update, or he can reapply updates to an earlier copy. Technically, the two things are known as rollback and roll forward. Clear? That is to its original position before update, then it is to be rollback, and to reapply updates to an earlier copy, that is to be roll forward. So logging allows keeping a track of which transactions were actually applied. Clear? Logging basically allows keeping track of which transactions were actually applied. Next one, that is the online inquiries. Clear? That is the online inquiry. So some online systems are used just to process inquiries of the user. Example, financial organization use online systems when they need immediate access to the information. So this includes information regarding the exchange rates or information of the customers regarding the status of their accounts. Clear? That is to be the online inquiries. They will have to check, just log in their details and they have to check that. Okay. So when the user makes this inquiry, clear, when the user makes his inquiry, the system runs the corresponding program, clear, when the user makes his inquiry. So the system runs the corresponding program based on the inquiry code, clear, the system runs the corresponding program based on the inquiry code. The program will either display, clear, the program will either display or print the information asked by the user, clear, the program will either display or print the information asked by the user. Sometimes such systems use a special written programs or the macros. So what is the macros here? Clear, sometimes some such system use a special written programs or the macros. I think all of you have used macros in the Excel also. Expect all of you have used the macros in the Excel also, because while processing the large types of the instructions, so basically what we will use, basically what they will use here, that is the macros, clear, macros. So persons who are working in the banking sector, they are very well aware regarding the macros for the large type of the transactions. Okay, so now let's discuss the same. So sometimes such system uses special written programs of macros. So what are the macros? That is macros, it is a set of instructions which can be used to perform some repetitive task. So user can do little variation in the original program to suit his needs. Example, the user can ask for a list of customers who have overdrawn money from their accounts and then group into them according to their occupation or income. So the latest technique, clear, basically for making these types of query, that is the structured query language or 4GL, that is fourth generation language. So this is a better and more flexible technique than using the macros. Clear, from the macros also you will get out all the data, but here they are saying that you can use now the structured query language. So in this user can build the queries in simple English language like statements. Note that the online inquiry system does not do online transaction processing. Online inquiries basically can be made against the data updated in the batch mode. Clear? So kindly remember that in the online query system, you are not doing to any transactions. Just for what they are to be here, that is for the data updated in the batch mode. Clear? That is for the inquiries. It is to be specifically used here. Okay. So if anyone has any doubt, any query, what we have discussed here, please ask fast. We have discussed the data processing and methods, batch processing, batch system works, batch system for the clearing checks, online processing, and online inquiries. So in the next session, we have to discuss real-time systems, centralized and distributed data processing, grid computing, cloud computing, cluster computing. Very, very important for the examination point of view. Clear? This is the very, very important we have to cover in the next session, and then let's do the completion of the session also. So please go through all these points and I will provide you the slides in the group. Kindly go through that. So thanks to all of you for joining this discussion. If you like our sessions, please share with your friends also and please like the press button. So thanks to all of you.